Welcome to How to Attract Your Dream Customers. This is Coach Niquenya, your master dream designer, founder and creator of the Design Your Dream Biz Training and Accountability Group, president and CEO of Building Bridges Consulting, where we specialize in transforming dreamers into successful entrepreneurs. Let's get started. There is a big problem facing many small businesses, and that is that you are not making any money. A good majority of small businesses fail within the first 5 years of operation. Why is that? And it's because you often don't understand that need to have significant capital, money. Many entrepreneurs feel frustrated by the lack of capital resources available to them in their business. So, most small business owners believe that they need external financing, such as grants, loans, and investors, in order to sustain and grow their business. The problem with that is that getting money is not really the issue, it's just a symptom of a much larger problem, and that is that you need quality paying customers. Poor customer attraction and retention leads to cash flow issues. If you don't have the right customers in your business, then you won't be making any sales. And if you're not making any sales, then you're not making any money. And if you're not making any money, then you won't have the profits necessary to grow and sustain your business. And then, if you don't have that profit available, if you don't have that consistent income, that consistent revenue generated month after month, then you won't even qualify for the grants, loans, and investors from the external financial services. So you absolutely need to have quality paying customers in order to receive and make the cash that you need in order to grow your business, in order to have the cash flow necessary to sustain your business. So let's talk about, how do you do that? Before we get started with the real nuts and bolts of how you can attract your dream customers, let's talk about some of the mistakes that most entrepreneurs make that prevents them from getting those customers. The first is that you try to serve everybody. This is impossible. And that's because there are over 7 billion people in the world. With over 7 billion people in the world, how can you possibly serve everybody? That is an astronomical feat that I don't know anyone who is capable of doing that. And in fact, if you have children, if you have nieces and nephews or small cousins, or if you've been around any children at all, think about the conversations that you have with them. Think about the way that you communicate with them. Think about how they learn and how they listen. Can you talk to every child in the exact same way? Absolutely not. And that's exactly what you try to do in your business. You try to serve everybody, you try to talk to everybody in the exact same way, communicating the exact same message to everybody. And when you try to serve everybody, when you try to communicate to everybody at the exact same time in the exact same way, nobody hears you. You can't serve everybody. The second issue is that you focus on friends and family. Friends and family is too narrow of a market. And I get it. You're comfortable with them, you know them, you love them, you trust them, you think that they are going to be the most supportive of your business. But in fact, your friends and family most likely do not fit within the criteria of who your dream customers are. And we'll talk about why in a moment. The third mistake is that you think you have to be a master salesperson. And that is an absolute myth. You do not need to be able to sell in order to produce a profit, in order to generate income, in order to attract your dream customers. In fact, selling produces the opposite effect. It causes people to run in the opposite direction. If you think about any time you've walked into a store, a department store, an electronics store, and you get approached by the sales rep or the customer service person or the sales associate, and they say, "May I help you?" And our instant response is usually no. And we run the other way, as far away from that person as possible. even if we actually needed their help, and we'll return to that exact same person 10 minutes later to ask them, can they help you find whatever it is you came into the store for? Why do we do that? It's because nobody likes to be sold to. So you do not have to be a master salesperson in order to effectively attract your dream customers. And in fact, trying to become a master salesperson typically has the opposite effect and causes your dream customers to run away. The fourth mistake is you don't know how to communicate your value. You absolutely have to know your worth in order to explain that, in order to demonstrate that to your customers so that they're both willing and absolutely do pay your prices, that they see the value in the products and the service that you provide and understand exactly how it's going to meet their needs. So you have to be able to communicate your value. And unfortunately, so many small business owners, so many entrepreneurs do not know how to do that. Your product can be the greatest thing since sliced bread, but if you don't know how to effectively communicate that value to the people who need it most, then they won't see that value, they won't understand how it's going to meet their needs, and they won't make that buying decision. The fifth issue, the fifth mistake, is that you don't have a strategic plan. Strategic simply means intentional actions. You have to get intentional about your expected outcome. So that means establishing a goal, whether that's a sales goal, revenue goal, or whatever it is. You have to have a goal in mind, something that you're striving toward, something that you want or expect to happen as a result of your activities. And then you have to put in place a plan, a step by step, or specific actions that you will undergo in order to make that thing happen, in order to achieve that goal. So when you don't know who your customers are and try to serve everybody or focus on friends and family, and remember, serving everybody is too broad, focusing on friends and family is way too narrow. Your dream customers are probably somewhere in between. So when you don't know who they are, trying to serve everybody, focusing on friends and family, when you think you have to be that master salesperson, when you don't understand how to effectively communicate your value so that your customers understand and know your worth, when you don't have any real strategic plan, you tend to waste time on activities that don't make you any money. How do you fix that? So here's what you can do. The first thing is know your customer. Who do you serve? What do they look like? Second, know your product. How do you serve? How do you show up? Third, know your value. Why do you serve? Know your customer, know your product, know your value. Let's talk about each of these three things in more detail. First, know your customer. Who is your dream customer? Who is your target market? Who is your niche? You want to ask yourself, who do you most want to serve? And who is both willing and able to pay your prices? That last part, that able, is exactly why friends and family are usually not your dream customers. Because if you think about it, they're typically in the exact same position, exact same financial position as you are, meaning they're broke. So if they don't have any money, they're definitely not going to be able to pay your prices. So you want to focus on those people who you most want to serve, because all money isn't good money, and there's some people you should absolutely cut off, who is willing and able to pay your prices. And of course, who absolutely needs you. So how do you figure out who that is, right? I usually tell my coaching clients to look in the mirror. Because the funny thing about your dream customers is that they're usually a mirror reflection of who you are right now, or who you have been in the past and where you have come from. Perfect example is myself. Okay, I come from a single parent. I am also, or I was also, a single parent. I was a teen parent, having had my first child at age 15. I had two children who had um, needs, medical needs, and I came from an impoverished background, lived in low income housing, had bad credit, bad financial decisions, just terrible decisions in my life that caused me to end up in a downward spiral. Okay. And so when I look in the mirror and I look at that person who I used to be before I got my business, before I started and figured out things for myself, I look at that person who I was, and now in my own business, that is who I most want to help. That is who I most feel attracted to. That is who sees themselves in my story. My story having been that teen mom that came from a single parent, that was also a single parent of two children with needs, and impoverished background, lived in low income housing, all of that stuff, lack of resources, etc. So the persons who I most help now, who I most want to help, and who most see themselves in my story are those who came from similar backgrounds, who had lack of resources, who were probably a woman, who probably were single parents, who probably had children with needs, who probably had a lack of resources, both financial resources as well as other socioeconomic resources or family support, etc. That's who I most like to help. That's who where I get the most joy. Okay. And even if it's not yourself, maybe your business was inspired by someone in your inner circle, a friend or a family member or even an associate, a coworker or something, who had a challenge, an issue, and their needs were not met. And you saw that, and that thing pulled at your heartstrings and inspired you to come up with a solution, or you observed a solution of how that person became transformed through the solution, and that is what inspired your business. um, so you want to look at either yourself, that mirror reflection of yourself, or that perfect person who inspired you, and their avatar, their representative of who they are now or where they came from when they had this issue, and then take their demographics, geographics, and psychographics and brainstorm and list them out. You don't need to go to census.gov to do this. You don't have to do major market research to figure this out. You can literally look in the mirror at either yourself or that person who is your perfect avatar and list these out. When we talk about demographics, these are physical characteristics. This is gender, age, uh, your socioeconomic background, your education, etc. Those are demographics, your physical characteristics. Geographics have to do with location. Where do they live? Where do they work? Where do they play? Are they in a single family home? Do they own a home? Do they rent? Are they in an apartment? Are they rural? Are they urban? Are they in Chicago? Are they in Illinois? Are they in the United States or abroad? Where do they live? Where do they work? Are they self-employed, unemployed, underemployed, work at home? Are they playing at different places like gyms and um, uh, maybe they go to camps or Bible studies, or where do they play? So live, work, and play. You want to look at the location. Where can you find them is what geographics answers. Where are they? Okay, psychographics is the third one, and that has to do with your behavior. What are the behavioral attributes of that person? Are they depressed? Okay, do they have certain buying behaviors? Are there certain things that they're going to buy? For instance, Best Buy is a perfect example of a company that has defined avatars for each of their target markets, and one of the things that they look at, of course, is the psychographics of their customers. What are their buying behaviors? And they've identified their primary customer as they named it Buzz, and Buzz is generally a male who is between the ages of 18 and 26, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And Buzz wants the latest and the greatest. Buzz is going to be that person who stands in line outside of Best Buy for 3 days in advance of the new release of the Xbox or the iPhone or whatever's the latest and the greatest technology. And so Best Buys, if you recall ever walking into those stores, they are set up where they absolutely focus on Buzz being their most profitable customer, and Buzz can streamline straight to the back of the store and run into everything that he's most likely to buy. And so if you notice, he's walking through media such as CDs and DVDs and video games and computers and cell phones, straight back to the electronics, the home entertainment systems, etc. Right? And that's because they know Buzz is their most profitable customer and he wants the latest and greatest, so they put all that media and technology right up in the front of the store to take advantage of Buzz. They also have a customer called Jill. That customer avatar called Jill is a soccer mom. And they look at Jill's buying behaviors, her psychographics, okay? And her buying behaviors, Jill has a busy life. Jill is most likely a married woman who is in her 30s, right? And more than likely, she has multiple children. And more than likely, she owns a minivan and she's traveling with not only her children but other people's children in a carpool situation, and she's traveling back and forth to schools and after school activities, sports activities, etc. And she has very limited time to get done what she needs to get done, because more than likely she's also a stay-at-home mom and she has to get back home and fix dinner for her husband and the kids, etc., and then still do housework. So Jill doesn't have a lot of time, and Best Buy knows this because they've looked at her psychographics, her buying behaviors, and her lifestyle. Okay, and so they use that to then meet the needs of Jill. And so during back to school time, they set up personal shoppers who recognize Jill the moment she walks through the door, because they know Jill's demographics, that she's going to come in there a woman somewhere in her 30s, looking frazzled and in a hurry, and she may have a lot of kids trailing behind her, and so she has very little time to get in and out of that store before she has to get to the next thing. And so that personal assistant is there, that shopping assistant is there at the front of the store waiting on Jill, recognizing Jill, and armed with all the back to school lists for the local schools. So as soon as that personal shopper sees Jill, she pulls Jill and says, "Hey, are you doing back to school shopping for your kids? What school do they go to? I have their school list. Let's go." And that personal shopper leads Jill through the store to exactly the department she needs to go to, putting on all the things that she has in her shopping list into her cart, and then also any add-ons along the way, which is saving Jill time, right? And so Jill gets ushered out of the store. Her needs get met immediately. And so what's Jill most likely to do? Come back to Best Buy. Each and every time she has to do her back to school shopping, she's going to come back to Best Buy because she knows that they're going to meet her need of saving time by having that personal shopping experience. And so that's what you want to do in your business. You want to look at the demographics, the geographics, and the psychographics of your dream customer so that you can meet their needs. Okay? And make sure that you have them in mind, who they really are, so you can focus on only serving those people. Okay, now when I say target market, that doesn't mean that you're just going to only serve those people, but that is where your focus is. Okay, which is a much different thing. If you think of an actual target, it has a bullseye in the center and then it has all these outer rings. Okay, now if you have darts and you're throwing it at the target, you have to aim, and that's where the target marketing comes from. You have to aim towards that center, the bullseye. That bullseye represents the customers who you most want to serve, who are willing and able to pay your prices. Your dream customers are the bullseye. And then you have these outer rings. The outer rings are other people who may not fit all the characteristics, all the demographics, all the geographics, all the psychographics of your dream customer, but they fit some of them. Okay, but here's the thing about aiming at that target. If you don't aim at all at the target and you just throw darts, you're not going to hit anything, right? Maybe occasionally a dart will land on the target, but most of the time you're going to miss the target completely if you're aiming at nothing, right? So if you're aiming at least at that bullseye, trying to aim for your target market, even if you don't hit the people who you most want to serve, who are willing and able to pay your prices, who fit all the demographics, geographics, and psychographics, you're at least going to hit the target somewhere. So maybe that first outer ring, if you're like me and you're serving women who come from those impoverished backgrounds, who may have children and maybe had limited resources, maybe that outer ring, the first outer ring, uh, they're mothers, but they don't come from impoverished backgrounds, right? But they still see themselves in my story. So they're going to self select and say, okay, that you're still talking to me. And maybe that second outer ring, maybe they don't live in Chicago, which is where my focus might be geographically, because I live in Chicago. Maybe they live in Indiana, right? In Indianapolis. But they still see themselves in my story, in my products and services. They see the value because maybe they are still a single parent, a mom, maybe they have children with needs, maybe they come from impoverished background, but they just don't live in Chicago. And then the other outer rings will still fit within somewhere in those demographics, geographics, psychographics, but not the complete picture. So it's not saying that you're going to limit who you serve, because you absolutely can still serve people who are outside your target. But when you focus, when you have that clarity of who you're talking to, more people can self select and identify with your story than if you try to talk to everybody. And so once you have a clear idea of who you are, where you've come from, or who that avatar is of the person who inspires your business, and you've listed out the demographics, the geographics, and the psychographics of your dream customer, so now you have this complete picture of who you're targeting, it's up to you to show up. Show up. What do I mean by show up? Go where they go and be where they be. That's why those geographics are really important. So if you know that they live, where they work, where they play, you can go where they go and be where they be, and just be present. Okay, wherever they are, you need to be. Second, know your product. What specific problem do you solve, and then how do you know it's a problem? Because not all business ideas are great business ideas. Your product or your service needs to meet a need for your customers. It needs to either meet a need or solve a problem or fulfill a want or desire that they have. So how do you know it's the problem? Is there evidence somewhere? Do you have social proof? Is it trending? Has there been a news story about it? Have you seen posts about it on social media? How do you really know it's a problem? Identify that. And then what does your dream customer currently do about it? What are the competitors out there? Who are they? And there's direct competitors and indirect competitors. Direct competitors mean it's someone or something that provides exactly the same thing that you do. And indirect competitors is someone or something that provides similar solutions to the problem. So for instance, if I say McDonald's, right? McDonald's is a fast food restaurant, and so is Burger King. So McDonald's and Burger King are direct competitors because they provide the exact same thing in the exact same way. However, McDonald's and Jewel are indirect competitors because Jewel provides food and McDonald's provides food, but Jewel provides a lot of food. Some are readily prepared and some are taken home and prepared, whereas McDonald's only does fast food. So they provide food, both of them do. However, they do it in two different ways. And so they're indirect competitors. So you need to know both. And then you also need to know if your customers aren't doing anything about it, because that's also a solution. Not the best solution, but it's important to know that. So what do your dream customers currently do about the problem or issues that they have? Okay, and then what can you do about it? What's in your toolkit? What is your expertise? What is your background? What is your education? What has been your experience? How do you know you can solve their issue? What can you do about it? What's your story, basically? So once you have that in mind, then you can work on defining your signature solution. When I say signature solution, this is the number one product or service that you are most known for. And I often get this question from my coaching clients. They're like, okay, I have all these ideas, I have all these products and services that I can provide, all these ways I can help my dream customers. Which one do I start with? Which one do I focus on first? And this is what you do. You figure out what is the one product or service that you're going to most known for, okay? And that thing should either increase pleasure, decrease pain, or both. And the way you figure out which of your solutions is going to be the signature, the number one thing that you do, is it has to be the most effective way that you know to resolve your dream customer's biggest problem. Meaning it's something that you already know how to do, have already done, have access to, don't need to purchase a whole lot of resources for. So if you've been educated about a certain thing, if you've had training and experience about a certain thing, that's most likely what you should start with. It should be the quickest and easiest route to profit, meaning you're not going to have to spend a whole lot of money. You don't need a whole lot of extra resources in order to get it done. So if you have to spend money, if you have to spend time, if you have to spend resources to build it, then it might not be the most effective way or the fastest and quickest route to profit. So you want to start with that thing that you most know how to do, and that becomes your number one product or service. So if I talk about Jiffy Lube as an example, they have the signature oil service, right? Their signature oil service is Jiffy Lube's signature solution. Do they have other services? Absolutely. But the thing that they're most known for, their number one product or service, is that signature oil service. If I talk about McDonald's, I would go back to McDonald's. They have the Big Mac, right? Do they have other things that they sell? Absolutely. If I talk about Whopper, right? That is for Burger King. That's their signature solution. It's the number one thing that they're most known for. Does Burger King sell other products? Absolutely. But they're most known for the Whopper, and that's the number one thing that's going to bring them in. And so that's what you want for your business, is what is the signature solution, the number one thing that's going to bring people through the doors, and it's your quickest and easiest route to profit. The third thing that you need to do is know your value. And the funny thing about value is that it's created, it is imaginary. This is why you can go to a Marshall store and buy a sweater for $20. And then you can go to a Macy's store and buy the exact same sweater for $120. Same brand, same sweater, same material, but it's $100 difference between the two stores. And why is that? Because Marshall's values itself, demonstrates its worth on the lower end, more economical purchase, whereas Macy's values itself, demonstrates its worth as a higher end store, a higher end purchase. And so it communicates that value specifically to the customers that it serves, the customers that it's targeting for each of those stores. And if you feel that you need an economical solution, you're going to go to Marshall's. Whereas if you feel that you're a higher end shopper, you're going to go to Macy's. And at Macy's, you're going to expect that you're paying more because Macy's has demonstrated through its value creation that it's worth more. And Marshall's has demonstrated through its value creation that it is more economical. So you're going to go where you place yourself, where you self select, where you place yourself in that buying spectrum, and you're going to go where it fits most within your lifestyle. So high-end shoppers to Macy's, and more economical shoppers to Marshalls. So you have to do that in your company, and it's all about establishing belief. The value is created through what you cause people to believe, and in order for them to believe in your value, you have to believe in it yourself. You have to believe in the solution that you provide. Okay, and this is why I wrote my book, Why You Suck at Network Marketing, because I noticed that a lot of time the communications that we're having, we are having really poor, ineffective marketing communications, which do not explain our worth, which do not demonstrate our value, because we don't believe in it in ourselves. Because as a network marketer, you typically join these companies because of the money that you expect to make, instead of because of your belief in the products and services that you provide. And then it's very easy for your potential customers, the prospects, to see that you don't believe in it because of your attitude, because of your lack of passion, because of your lack of oomph behind the words that you're communicating to them about the products. And so you really do have to believe in the solution. If you don't believe in it, then value cannot be demonstrated. It absolutely cannot be shown. And how do you show value? You show impact through story. You show how the customer will be transformed when they use the products and services. And so you want to ask yourself, what will your dream customer lose in their current state if they continue without fixing this problem, if they continue without a solution? And then what will your dream customer gain in their future state once they've used the product or service, once they have applied uh, your solution to their problem or service? How will they be changed? How will they be transformed? What specific results will be produced? What will be the outcome of using your products and services? And then once you figure that out, you want to focus on the benefits rather than the features. If you don't know the difference, features tell you what a product does or what it is, whereas benefits show why anybody should care. Features, what it does or what it is, and benefits, why anyone should care. For instance, I am not a bike rider. I haven't been on a bike since I was 12 years old. Okay, so I'm not a bike rider. I don't know very much about bikes at all. If I happen to be in a market for a bike because I've been told that it's great exercise, or my husband has decided he wants me to ride with him, whatever it is, I decide to go purchase a bike. Telling me that it has a wide seat tells me nothing about why I should buy it. That's a feature, right? But telling me that it's going to provide a much more comfortable ride because the narrow seats have a tendency to hurt, especially if you're more endowed on the bottom side. That's going to be more important to me as a thicker girl, so I want to hear that benefit because that tells me the why I should care about the wider seat. The wider seat is the feature, the comfortability is the why I should care. So you want to focus on the benefits rather than the features of your solution because the value is demonstrated through those benefits. And if you could weave that through a story, that's even better. So once you know your worth, then you can charge accordingly. So important. And that's probably the number one thing that I work with my clients in my jumpstart programs and in my coaching programs, my VIP days, is that you need to know your worth so that you can charge accordingly, because that's the only way that you're going to make enough money where you can feel that you are not any longer wasting time, but instead monetizing your talents and getting paid what you're truly worth. You have to know your worth and charge accordingly. And that comes from demonstrating the value through the benefits of your solutions. So, what do you do now? Your plan should be to, first of all, define your dream customer. Secondly, develop your signature solution, the thing that you are most known for. Third, start demonstrating value through benefits focused stories. What is your story? As many stories as you can that demonstrate your value as possible. You should get very familiar with them, and that only comes from believing in your product and by using it and establishing those stories. And then you want to build and nurture relationships with your dream customers by going where they go and being where they be. So bottom line is you need to show up wherever your customers are. Be there, go where they go, be where they be. Speak up by communicating your value through those benefits focused stories, and then show out by delivering on that value, over delivering what's promised, making sure you fulfill their needs and satisfy what's been expected, and if possible exceed their expectations. So show up, speak up, and show out. Thank you for listening to How to Attract Your Dream Customers. You can continue to connect with me on any of my social media, my website for both my company or myself. You can also, if you are not already a member, join me in my free online training and accountability group, the Design Your Dream Biz Training and Accountability Group, which you can find at bit.ly/ design your dream biz. Again, that's bit.ly/ design your dream biz, or find us on Facebook, Design Your Dream Biz Training and Accountability Group. Again, this is Coach Niquenya, your master dream designer, founder and creator of the Design Your Dream Biz Training and Accountability Group, president and CEO of Building Bridges Consulting, where we specialize in transforming dreamers into successful entrepreneurs. Make sure to leave your comments below, and we'll see you in the group.